Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome to the Think Factory's Workplace Podcast, powered by OGC Solutions, the podcast where we explore the ever-evolving landscape of workplace dynamics. My name is Alka Bahal. I'm a partner with Outside General Counsel Solutions and the chair of our Corporate Immigration Services Group. I'll be your host today. I am very pleased to have with me Rachel Platt, CEO of Platinum HR Consulting. Welcome to the podcast, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me, Alka. I'm thrilled to be here.
My pleasure. So tell me about Platinum Consulting.
Well, I think I have a story like many others in that I spent over 20 years in corporate. I have always been in one area of human resources or another, and I aspired to a chief people officer, chief human resource officer role. I got that role and realized that it wasn't the right thing for me. And very quickly thereafter, started Platinum. And really our focus is on bringing some of the best practices from large organizations with lots of resources to small and mid-sized organizations, and really helping to create the environment and the strategy around their people and where people can thrive. So it's not about day-to-day HR and compliance. It really is that programmatic, systemic initiatives that really help organizations and leaders that know that their people, without their people, that they cannot meet their mission, they cannot meet their goals. So they need to find ways to inspire and really just create the culture where folks think they can thrive.
Interesting. And so what advantages do you think you bring to a company that's different than what you did when you were in the in-house role?
I think there's a few things. When I'm honest, I think to myself, these are things that I had suggested internally, or even sometimes that my clients are suggesting internally. But sometimes the executive team, they need to hear it from an outsider. That is part of the challenge of being in a human resources role. That it occasionally, as much as you may have a seat at the table, it occasionally is still seen as a support role. So while I find that to be unfortunate, sometimes just having an outside person does help. But what I personally and what Platinum really brings is the fact that we have worked with so many organizations of different sizes at different life cycles, and we really customize based upon the best practices, the next practices, the research. We are very data driven, and therefore we have expertise that someone who is very internally focused may not have the capacity, the time, or the experience and exposure to be able to bring really customized and creative solutions to big problems. And that's what we do remarkably well in a very programmatic way.
And how would an employer know that it's time to contact Platinum? It's time to bring in the big guns?
That's a great question. I think for each organization, it's a little different. But when you have a group of leaders who are saying what we're doing is not working, and we don't know how to fix it. So that could be in your hiring process. You may be hiring people and you are quickly realizing that they're not the right fit for your organization. That could be with your mentorship programs, that could be with your performance assessment, that could be with your promotional, how you make your promotional decisions. Really, we love working the most with executive teams, including the chief people officer or whatever that person's title is, the most senior HR person in the organization. We love working with leadership teams that are looking to go beyond the minimum, go beyond what is required from a regulatory standpoint. And they're saying, I know we can be so much better. How do we maximize what our people strategy is so that we can meet our business strategy? And that's really where organizations come to us from either one of two places. Either they've got a problem that they don't know how to fix, or for those really proactive leaders who are saying, I know we're going to grow and we want to be better, and let's put that in place right now from the outset.
Very interesting. So you're not like a regular sort of HR staffing company where you're filling in for HR. You're doing very high level strategic support to existing HR departments in most cases, right?
That's exactly right.
Got it. And what is your ideal company profile?
We most typically work with organizations between 30 and 300 employees across the U.S. We have a mix of not-for-profit and professional services clients. Really, again, it's about, the ideal client is the client with the executive team who wants to do more and wants to do better for their people. And they want to have a strategy, not a hodgepodge of throwing spaghetti up against the wall.
Or maybe they've tried throwing spaghetti up against the wall and realize it's not working.
Yes, that also. We meet you where you are. Let's just put it that way.
That sounds good. So tell me a little bit about your career path and what led you into starting Platinum in the current role.
As I mentioned, I had desired to be in the chief people officer role for a fast-growing organization. I was looking for a progressive, people-focused organization. And to be honest, I don't know if I chose the wrong organization, the wrong people, the wrong time. But it was just not a fit. It was too far away from the work that I think is so important. I felt a little like a politician, and not that I was actually having an impact. And very quickly, I reached out to some of my former bosses. I'm very, very lucky in that I have maintained a strong relationship with many, in fact, all of my previous bosses. Any boss that I've ever had for more than 2 or 3 years, I am still in contact, going back to my very first boss out of college. And I just put the word out, and I've always had a reputation for seeing the gray. I'm not a black and white HR professional. That's just not the way my brain works. That's not what energizes me. That's not where I do my best work. And so, but needing to find a solution, needing to solve a problem, I just put the word out, and 7.5 years later, we're thriving. Here we are. And through a combination of referrals, marketing, and great work that we've done for clients, we continue to grow and
That,
do really fun work.
that's incredible. What an accomplishment, staying in good graces with every previous boss you ever worked with.
It's funny you say that. I was just emailing this morning with a boss of mine from 1998 was when he hired me. And we were emailing today and making lunch plans.
That's amazing.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So looking at, you deal with a lot of different individuals in leadership positions, I'm sure. So tell me from your perspective, what do you believe are the three most essential traits for effective leadership in the workplace today?
Oh, you're only giving me three?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll give you three.
I have a lot of thoughts on this, but listening is number one. The ability and the desire to not think that you have all of the answers, and asking questions, being curious, and getting input from all of your employees, all different places, is a key to being successful. Once you have that feedback, recognizing, supporting, and giving credit where credit is due builds trust, builds people's feelings of accomplishment, feelings of value, being valued. It's less about rewards than recognition. And the last one is being a real human being. We hear a lot of people talking about being genuine and being authentic. And I really believe that. I'm kind of on a mission to where people are talking about soft skills. We should never have started calling them soft skills. These are power skills. The authenticity and empathy and compassion, that is what differentiates the greatest leaders from just the average or the poor leaders. Because people who have those unique skills, that can never, ever be supplanted by AI or by other forms of automation or technology. So being a good human and leaning into that and recognizing that not as weak, but as power skills, that's really where the magic happens.
Very interesting. So one of your first key skill was listening skills. So how do leaders listen to their employees? How do they engage the employees?
Well, I don't think we have the magic one answer, one size fits all, but some of the key ingredients are sharing that you genuinely want and are interested, and asking good questions to get people to give you input that you then can listen to. Listening is not always about doing what someone suggests. Listening is about hearing other viewpoints, asking the question of, are there any downsides to this that we may not be thinking about that we potentially could address up front? We're still moving down this path, but can we ease through some of those pain points rather than hitting them head on? Can we plan for them? It's also about creating an environment where you're not punishing people for brainstorming, where people are allowed to make mistakes. Those are the cultures and the environments where people feel free. The buzzword is they feel safe, or they have the psychological safety to speak their mind and say what they're thinking. And creating that environment is critically important if a leader really wants to be able to sit and listen.
Absolutely. And beyond listening, well, before we get to the beyond listening, how do you measure employee satisfaction engagement? What are sort of the methods that you recommend employers use?
Well, I am a believer in surveys, whether that's an annual survey or a smaller pulse surveys. I do think that there is some value in anonymity, but I also agree and believe in skip level feedback. I believe in focus groups. I believe in creating just an environment. It doesn't need to be something formal. Just checking in with people, having real relationships and real dialogue is how you get feedback. When people trust that you're all, I don't know, choose your expression, same direction, you all want the same things, people are often willing to make suggestions that they think would improve an organization or a culture or a process. And those are all great ways to receive for an executive team or an individual leader to receive feedback and to get feedback on how engaged employees are and their satisfaction levels in their organization. There's no one way. There's many ways. And I think if you put them in the proverbial blender, you come out with a much better answer than if you're just doing one and done. And this is how we measure it.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the tricky part is then beyond the measurement, how do you use this data to really make a meaningful change? I think that maybe is where a lot of people get hung up.
Yeah, this is something that I spend a lot of time coaching clients on because, I mean, human nature is that we sometimes get a little defensive or that we feel like something that might have been raised is either outside the scope of things we're willing to fix, or that's the way it's always been. Or I joke all the time, well, I grew up, I had to push the boulder uphill both ways in the snow, barefoot, and so everybody else is going to have to do it too. And that just does not work.
Right.
The generations have changed, what people value in work, how they define balance, all of that has changed tremendously. And so the ways to determine and really think about how you're going to consider the feedback and what you're going to do about it is to be very clear about what you heard and not to sweep it under the rug, but to say, we only can take on so much. And here is what we're going to prioritize for right now. And we'd like to get really good at this and make significant improvements and hear that you've said that we have improved in this one area that you have given us feedback in. And once we have moved the needle significantly, then we'll look to see where we are at that point and we'll address something else. Because doing everything just a little bit is not a recipe for success. I've never seen an organization, I've only seen organizations, let's put it this way, I've only seen organizations truly be successful when they are focused on, one or two or three things at a time. We can't remember, we can't keep track of, we can't measure, we can't prioritize if we're spread too thin. And it's the same for individual goals, or it's the same for an organization that has a goal of improving their engagement or satisfaction scores.
Yeah, interesting. I suppose that's probably a mistake a lot of employers make, trying to take too widespread of an approach and not succeeding with the shotgun approach, really.
Right. And one organization that I work with right now, they're being very, very intentional about the one big thing that they are working on. And they are now regularly asking, not have we perfected it, but do you see us making progress? Do you feel that your feedback in this area is being considered? And they're regularly celebrating their successes, their small incremental successes, but they're getting everybody on board with it. And they're also teaching people, which is the part that I'm appreciating the most. And this was an idea that came directly from a member of their C-suite, is just, let's show people how hard it is to actually make changes in this area. Let's show people how incremental change is good. We don't have a magic wand to say, poof, this is all better now. And it really is creating an environment where people are bought in and people are learning and they're growing together. And I really, truly give this organization a ton of credit for being focused and not easing their way out of it. Their initial scores were not particularly positive. Both their true data metric scores from surveys, but just general feedback was not stellar. So they have a big place, big improvements that they can make, but they're really working through it in a thoughtful, methodical, planful, engaging way. And they're bringing everybody along with them. And they're really going to be successful. They already have had success, but it's continuing to move. And it's sustainable also, which is really a critical part when you're talking about employee engagement and employee satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't simply do it for the short term and then expect it to solve problems on an ongoing basis.
Right.
That's really impressive. Very interesting. So clearly that leadership in that organization was able to kind of hone in and came up with this idea. So different leaders, I'm sure you work with all sorts of different types of people with different leadership styles. How do you see those leadership styles influencing workplace dynamics? And do you do anything to coach leaders to help them adapt their approach, or do you more tailor your approach to whatever the leader's methodology is?
I'm not sure if you can hear me laughing, but yes to all of that. And it's both, to be honest. I learned a long time ago that I am not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And I don't need to be. But I am going to be diplomatic. I am going to be honest. And I'm going to tell a leader when they are part of the problem. And perhaps there are other techniques or styles that they could consider that may be better, more well received. Let's put it that way. I do some assessments on communication styles and helping leaders and others to understand that there's no right or wrong communication styles, but that sometimes you need to adapt your own communication. You can't change somebody else. So you might need to adapt your communication style so that the person can hear you better, because you're ultimately looking for the outcome. How you get to the outcome doesn't always matter as much as the fact that you get to the desired outcome. And so I coach a lot of leaders on that. But yes, I also often take my own medicine, and I change my communication style or my listening style or how I give recommendations so that they can be better absorbed and have better outcomes. But there are a few that, like, there's no amount of magic that could help. I just have to be honest.
No amount of coaching fixes that problem, huh?
Yeah. No, and those are not great clients for me. And I've been lucky enough, Platinum's been lucky enough that there have only been a few times in the years that we've been in business where we've had to say, you know what, we don't think that this relationship is going in the direction that is going to have the outcomes that we're looking for. It's not about, I like to say, we put outcomes over egos. We don't need to solve the world's problems all by ourselves. Maybe there's someone that's a better fit for this leadership team or this executive, and that's terrific. And you should find that person, because it's not me. And I finally have gotten to a place where I can recognize that. I know that Platinum is really, really good at the things that we do. And we're not for everybody, and that's okay.
That's okay. That's incredible that you are self-reflective enough to understand that and communicate that instead of just remaining in probably a frustrating situation where no one's necessarily going where they want to go. So
it's hard.
I bet.
It's hard. I can't do it well every day, but I'm practicing.
It's all about one foot in front of the other, right?
You got it.
So turning a little bit to the workplace, having worked with so many different environments and looking at very different workplaces, what would you say are 5 key elements that contribute to a positive workplace culture?
The first ones that come to mind is transparency / honesty, even if that means saying, I can't give you an answer or I don't know the answer to whatever someone is asking you. I think feedback is truly the most important aspect of creating a healthy workplace and a good culture. We talked about listening that goes up the hierarchy, listening that goes down, listening to your peers, knowing that not everyone or anyone has all the right answers. And so getting input from others is critical. Number 4 is probably laughing, having fun, recognizing successes and celebrating each other's, to the extent that you've shared personal but professional successes, really makes a difference and an impact if someone feels like you've got their back and you're there to celebrate them, which kind of goes to number 5, which is what creates a great environment is when someone feels that they have support, that someone supports them. Whether nobody has a good day every day. Nobody's on every single day. Sometimes our personal lives, something leaks into your work life. Sometimes our work life leaks into our personal lives. There's no such thing as perfect balance. And so therefore, having someone that you trust and feel supports you and has your best interests at heart is a really key component to creating a sustainable culture, a sustainable environment where people are proud to come to work every day.
Very true, very true. And in line with the concept that we've become so much more aware, I think after COVID and working from home and having work and home life integrate more than ever before, that you're people who come to work as their whole selves, right? As you said, sometimes things from home, personal life leak into work, and sometimes vice versa. You can't, like when I was coming up, your work life was your work life and your home life was your home life, and apart they shall remain. And we're realizing that human beings don't work that way.
Yes. We're getting better. We're not there yet, but we're getting much better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that. So without getting into any politics, how should workplaces think about inclusivity and diversity today?
Okay, so we're not going to get into the politics and we're not going to get into the law, if that's okay.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
From a true people strategy, the data shows unequivocally that more diverse organizations are more successful. By more successful, I mean both more financially successful, more profitable, and have a higher employee satisfaction and employee engagement scores. So if you are a data person, the data will show you that having a robust, diverse employee base is a path to success. How you do that and how you make people feel included should not be and never should have been excluding someone else. That's the opposite of inclusion. It's not, it's not a pie. So like if I'm looking to include or give assistance, or that's not to say it's not a quota, it's not a number, it's not any of these things. It's not pie. If I give, there's not a limited amount. You can create an environment where everyone feels included. And that is really where I believe that organizations need to be focused right now. And frankly, where they should have been focused, and many have been focused for this entire time. I don't care what we call it. You don't like the expression DEI because it's been created into this terrible expression that has become political. Fine, we'll never use it again. But be a good human being. And all the other things that we've already talked about, Alka, the components of listening to other people, because that makes you smarter, that makes you understand your customers more, that helps you to create better products or services. I mean, that's common sense to me. And creating environments where people can feel comfortable at work, whatever their background is, however they live their lives. Okay, let's do that, because why should it have an impact? Again, it's not pie. Like, if one person has, you know, I always get, I'm passionate about this topic because it just doesn't logically make sense to me from just a human standpoint or from a data standpoint. So, like, go with the data. If you can't get there because it's not what your upbringing is, it's not what your religious beliefs are, it's not what your political beliefs are, that's all fine. But look at the data. Put your business headset on, your business mindset, and look at the data, and just know that creating environments where your employees and your team can do great work, offer their input based upon their experiences, that's what makes a business successful. And that's what inclusion looks like.
It's a very good business case for it. I like that. Makes a lot of sense. So what predictions do you have for the future of the workplace and your position in helping clients, say, in the next 1 to 2 years? How do you think it's going to evolve, if at all?
Oh, it's definitely going to evolve. We've never had a time when it hasn't. And particularly right now, I mean, you have, AI changing things faster than the world or the workplace has ever changed in the history of mankind, is happening in a flash. And you have changes coming from the administration, and all of that uncertainty is causing us to need to really lean into the be a good human, have empathy, have compassion, think about how change impacts your team. That's not to say you're not going to do these things, but be thoughtful, be planful. Don't just jump because everybody else is doing it. Really think about what AI means to your workplace, create policies around it, think about what it frees people up to do, think about where it's not acceptable or ethical in your environment. But all of this comes down to being thoughtful, planful, deliberate, intentional. That's not to say that you're risk adverse. That's not to say that you're not going to, try things and decide whether they're successes or they're failures. But be a good human while you do it. That's what getting us through the next few months, next few years, and into the future, because there will always be change. And so thinking about it from a people strategy perspective is the one thing that nothing can ever replace. And so that's where I encourage leaders to really improve their skills, because those are the power skills, and that's what differentiates you as a leader, and that's what makes organizations more successful.
And as you say, that's what will not disappear. We still
Correct.
need humans to some level or another, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Nice. What other advice, or any other advice, you would give to business leaders looking to navigate the challenges of the future workplace?
Don't wait till your hair's on fire. If you don't think that you have an organization that has high trust, high communication, it's not too late. Start now. Start today from wherever you are. Just get a little bit better in those areas. And this is not fluffy stuff. I want to be really clear. This is not like woo-woo, fluffy pie in the sky stuff. This is really about the techniques, the tactics, and how you execute to have a more successful business. And if your business relies on human beings, that leadership, that inclusivity, that people feeling, that sense of people feeling like they add value and are acknowledged in your culture, and you can prove it and you reward based upon it, that's where the magic is.
And this is proven, time-tested methods, if you will, for improving your metrics, increasing engagement. You've got that sort of robust experience dealing with employers of all sizes that you can probably come to this with a lot more knowledge than even an internal department could have.
I would like to think so, yes. There are some incredible people internally, so I don't want to take it away from them.
Fair.
But yes, I mean, if you're reading the trends, if you're staying on top of, just a couple of the organizations, the McKinsey organizations, the Harvard Business Review, the Burson, the Deloitte, the Gallup, the Gartner, these are all organizations whose entire focus is on the people aspects of business and people strategy. And most people don't read them. They may look at a chart or see something on LinkedIn, but most people don't read them and try to figure out, okay, it's telling me this, so how can I accomplish that? And
Right.
that's what we try to do.
Very interesting. So it's really been enlightening, Rachel. Thank you. Can you tell our listeners where they can find out more about Platinum Consulting and where they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. I post frequently. It's Rachel Platt. My website is platinumconsulting.com. I will just say that platinum is spelled with 2 T's, like my last name. So platinumconsulting.com. Those are 2 great places to reach me. I'm pretty good at getting back to people if they reach out on LinkedIn. I'd say I'm better than pretty good. I'm pretty much batting 1,000. I get back to people. If you reach out, I get back to you.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you, Rachel. Before I let you go, I do have one last question for you, which I did not prepare you for, but it is our traditional final question on the Think Factory's Workplace podcast, and that is, what keeps you up at night?
Okay, you want the personal answer or the work answer?
Give me both.
Okay. The personal answer is both of my kids are home for the first time in 12 summers. And so I'm up at night making sure that they're home. That's just the mom in me. On the work front, there's a lot of change in the environment right now. And so what keeps me up is just the volatility, the uncertainty that many of my clients are experiencing, and knowing that I can't fix it, but I can just try to put one foot in front of the other. And we're going to do the best that we can. And we're going to collaborate and work together and customize things for each individual environment. But it's not easy, and it keeps me up at night trying to figure out what's coming next, which shoe is going to drop, what's going to change. It's not easy. It's
the
never
world
boring.
is-
Let's put it that way.
That's very true. The world is a dynamic place these days, isn't it?
You can say that again.
Well, thank you for being with me here today, Rachel. It was a very enlightening conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to doing this conversation. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, listeners, for joining us on this edition of the Workplace Podcast. My name is Alka Bahal, signing off until next time.